does. It writes great copy. And it's also a good text analyzer. You can also input certain text or certain documents and have it summarize the content of a document. You could ask questions. You can chat with the contents of the document specifically, and the LLM would then pull out certain parts of the document and answer your question about that particular document. So writing assistant and text analyzer, that are, I would say, the most prominent use cases for an LLM. And besides using it to produce or to understand text, also a good way of using LLMs is really as a guide to provide suggestions to you, to reveal, to look for patterns in data, and to really understand data you are inputting into the LLM, or data that you are giving the LLM access to. So you can use really those kinds of LLMs not only as a writing assistant or a text understanding assistant, but also as a brainstorming buddy and for idea generation, for example. We will look at how that plays out in certain use cases later during the exercises. What an LLM is not, from my point of view, is it's not a patent law expert. Of course, as I said, LLMs have vast, huge general knowledge about all sorts of things, but they tend apparently to have some level of knowledge about patents and patent systems, but no expert knowledge in patent law. So an LLM is not a patent attorney, so you should never rely on the output of an LLM for, let's say, a difficult patent law related legal question. You should also always check for yourself. And also, and that's an important thing to know, LLMs are never perfectly accurate. So they are often quite reliable. So the output they are producing makes sense most of the time, but LLMs can always create incorrect or nonsensical answers, especially if you are tapping into a certain topic where there is little training data available to the LLM. The answers tend to get incorrect, and even the LLM will sometimes hallucinate. It will make up answers. So I don't know, in the example I was just showing you, when we asked ChatGPT whether it has been trained on training data, you have seen it says, well, it might include certain patent applications, things like that. So the answers are quite fuzzy, and you for that prompt we were using right now, I think you cannot really rely on the output of the LLM. So what I would suggest is, or what I'm using LLMs is not so much for, let's say, fact finding. An LLM is not a search engine. If you are looking for a certain fact, chances are the LLM finds it, but it could also be that the LLM just makes something up. That's it's kind of inherent into how these LLMs operate. They always try to give you a nice answer, and sometimes they make things up. Okay. Let's talk about cloud-based LLMs versus open source LLMs, the pros and cons. So one of the questions was which kind of LLM to use for which use case. Of course, there are certain constraints and certain requirements you have to keep in mind. On the one hand, the cloud-based LLMs like OpenAI's GPT or Google's Gemini, I think it's fair to say that they are the most powerful large language models we have available. They run in the cloud. The companies like OpenAI and Google, they operate huge server clusters to run those models, and that allows them to run big models, which have very powerful capabilities. Those cloud-based LLMs are also very easy to use, right? Of course, you don't need a local installation. You don't need to download anything or install anything or tweak certain parameters on your computer. You just open up your browser, and the whole work is done on the OpenAI or Google servers, so to say. So it's very easy to use, and it's also always up to date. So of course, these models are constantly further developed. The new training data is added and new features are added to those model interfaces. And by using those cloud-based LLMs, of course, you always get the newest version without having to do anything for yourself. A big concern with those cloud-based LLMs, we've heard that in the chat already, is of course privacy, because as a matter of definition, these tools are cloud-based. And of course, every time you put in a prompt, you are sending the data to an external server. So you should be really cautious about what you put into those tools. And then also the always up-to-date aspect is both a pro and a con, I would say, because these models might change anytime. That's always the case when you use some kind of cloud-based software. It might suddenly change its functionality, and if you have developed for yourself a certain set of prompts you are using all the time, it might be that there are certain changes to the cloud-based model which then result in a scenario where your prompt suddenly delivers a completely different result, or it might even not work at all anymore because the model functionality has changed. On the other hand, open source LLMs, of course, their big positive benefit is data privacy and security. So you are downloading the model locally onto your computer, and then you can even run it without any internet connection. It runs locally on your device. So all the data you put in stays on your local device or in your local network, depending on how you set up those tools. So that's a big plus of using offline open source LLMs. And also a benefit is, of course, stability. So once you get into a situation where you have your set of standard prompts you are using and which you are reusing for different tasks, there are no unforeseen changes possible because the model stays as it is, as you downloaded it.